Welcome back, YouTube. So today, I'm going to show you why Play-Doh isn't just for kids. Let's get to it. Now, I use Play-Doh a lot to rapid prototype. It's one of my favorite things to use, actually. Because sometimes you just really need to feel an object in your hand before you make it, just to make sure it feels right. And I had to make several hundred of these pipes. And I drew out everything in AutoCAD. All my cuts, the kerfs of all the cuts, just to make sure everything's right. I drew an isometric. It's all 1-to-1 scale. And then I drew, all these guys here. But before I started, I really wanted to get something that I could hold in my hand. Because this is about 80 hours of work. And I just didn't feel comfortable without having something in my hand before I started, just to make sure I had things right. So the process of this is actually really simple. You take 2 flat boards and a ruler. I want to make sure there's no dust on the boards if you can avoid it. And come on. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this Play-Doh. Once you got it released, you want to just work it a little bit so you have good cohesion throughout the Play-Doh, because especially as it gets a little bit older, it does tend to not want to stick to itself quite as much. All right, so you want to work it into what your basic block would start off as. And really, you just want to get a dimensional piece that you can mess with. Now, the cool thing about this is there's no real right or wrong way to do it. I just like getting things... I like having a certain process to things. So if you look at it, my block has to be 1.25 inches wide, 1.5 inches tall, by 4 inches long. So here we are at 1.5 inches tall and 1.25 inches wide. And we're over 4 inches long. So, just take it, chop down. A nice sharp knife cuts through this like you wouldn't believe. And you go back to 4 inches. And we need a little bit more meat back here. So I'll just take this and get it roughly close. Because most of this is coming off in a second here anyways. And there we are at 4 inches. Now, to make this really into something, because this is just a rectangle of clay, you start following these. Now, you can get away with just doing square cuts, because this is just a rough prototype to feel it in your hands. So, where are we here? 1.25 inches in. So that's 1.25 inches there. And we're going to be 5/8 up. 5/8 of an inch up. So there. And there you go. there's your rough prototype. Now the cool thing about this is when you're prototyping like this, now that you have a rough one, you can mess with it. And I actually ended up taking the breath hole up another 1/8 of an inch and adding another cut down here from there all the way up to there, just to make that hole square as opposed to a tall rectangle. So, I mean, there you go with that. And if you really wanted to, you can go one step further. But I already have several hundred of these guys still laying around. And there we go. So it did give me an estimate on how to do it. Also, with the particular cuts I had to make, it helped me think through what order I had to make them in. So it's not necessarily a life hack or a shop hack, but it really does help you think through how to create things, especially before you go into a mass production like I had. And it did save me a lot of time, instead of having to make 4 of them and then see which way I wanted to go and then, you know, get around to actually going into production. It probably saved me about 6 hours. So let's go back to FaceTime and we will wrap this up for you guys. So YouTube, what did you guys think? It's not a super hard process, but it's one that really doesn't occur to a lot of people. It's, a lot of people think Play-Doh or playing with clay is for kids, and really it could be a great time saver in the shop, or just to help you think through a problem. I know a lot of blacksmiths, and I do it myself. I use Play-Doh to work through a process before I even turn my forge on. It really does help. It helps you figure out where your hammer blows are going to be, where, you know, and how a very malleable material will move, because, well, they are very similar. But it does help with small things like this, and it really does save a lot of time. So I hope it does end up benefiting you in your shop. It really won't work for a lot of things like doing furniture, but small things, maybe figuring out how to make a little turning on the lathe for a knob or something. And you could do 4 or 5 iterations in 10 minutes and really get something nailed down before you ever put a tool to wood. It is helpful. So, for those of you who are new here, I release new content every Monday and Friday, and I hope you subscribe so you can, you know, have full access to that. Every Monday, I do a manliness video, something that I think all men should know. It ranges from everything from camping stuff all the way up to tying a tie, etiquette, how to drink at parties, how to handle a gun, how to treat people. So it's not just for men, but it's useful stuff that I think men should know and most women would benefit from too. On Fridays, I do little project videos like this. I have been swamped with this pipe project for the last 2 weeks, so my videos have been kind of strange and short. Coming next weekend, cooler videos are going to start appearing. I think I'm going to do a little leather work next weekend. Not sure if I'm going to incorporate a little metal or not into it. I'm going to make some business card holders, so stay tuned, take a look for that. Otherwise, I'd like to thank Reddit for really boosting my numbers. You guys are awesome. And you've given me some great tips, you know, things to look at, places to go, different things to consider, and I really appreciate you guys showing up. If you can, please subscribe. Guys, I'm almost to 100 subscribers, which means I can get a custom URL. It sounds stupid, but it's a big thing to me, and I would appreciate it if you could help me get there. I'm at like 73 or 74 subscribers, so I need another 26 or 27. So please subscribe. I really appreciate it. And thank you for helping me make a better world, one kerf at a time. See y'all later.